So
All right.
James, we've been working together for almost the last 6 months. How has been your experience so far?
It's been great. So from front to, from top to bottom, the planning stage, the setting of expectations, everything's been really clear. And we've both talked about this a number of times. Um, you know, Making sure you know what you're going to eat each day is key factor. So,
Yeah,
but not at the end of the day, but understand what your plan is for the beginning of the day. But once you have that, and especially once you have a few iterations of that, uh, for your first couple meals, it's just very easy. And so the process, I mean, it can't get any easier. I mean, the only thing that I would say is not easy is when you get to that last rep when you go to your workout. That gets a little tough after a while. It was easy at
yeah,
first. And I thought I wasn't working out hard enough. We went through that. But yeah, after I got to that point where I, you know, if I'm doing incline and I have a left arm and a right arm and I'm trying to get those two weights up and I'm at, 80 or 90, 80, suddenly the left arm doesn't want to go up and I have to kind of yell at it for a little while to get it to go up or try again. But other than that, it's very easy and it's very clearly explained.
yeah,
So
yeah. Uh, yeah, it took me some time to come up with that progression, but that progression is brilliant, man. It kind of meets you where you are and then pushes you more and more and more each day. Yeah, yeah. So what has
yeah,
been your favorite part so far of the program? I know in the beginning you were kind of looking around, you were thinking which program should join. Um, yeah, talk to me a little bit about
yeah.
that. What's your favorite part so far?
So I think that the key for me to success, we've been through this a dozen times. I have a very narrow window to get things done. And I have certain times of the year where I'm working incredibly long hours. Well, what I
Yeah,
call incredibly long hours. So 70-hour a week, right? Or
yeah,
65-hour a week. And so, and those are hours, that require analysis. So I can't just come to the desk with an empty head. I have to actually be sharp. So for me, getting the time to get in and get the workout and get the planning done, so that I know what I'm going to do, um, and having the help and support, those were key factors to me. Other programs I looked at, they didn't really have that. They would give you a list and they would give you some advice and then say, here you go, you're on your way. So that in a sense, they kind of use their arms to say, hey, here's how you swim in the air. And then they kind of shove you right into the water and say, all right, I
yeah,
showed you how, go ahead. Here's the drawing. Remember to look at the drawing as you swim. And it's it's just not as helpful. And that was and like I said, the other piece is accountability, right? And there's times it's been tough and admittedly so, under delivered a number of times, but it's just a matter of changing my lifestyle, and making that much, making the time happen. So those are the factors: the accountability, the planning, and then the follow through in terms of, hey, where are we at? How did you do? Where are your weight, where's your weight at, and how are you doing in terms of pushing the weights, not just the weight of your body, but the weights you're pushing.
yeah,
Those are all critical factors that I just didn't see anywhere else.
yeah, yeah, for sure. How helpful do you think it was to have the physical test in the beginning and personalize the training for you, and having that few sessions with trainer as well to kind of get you on the track with your training?
Well, that was critical because otherwise I'm just guessing where I'm at, and there's not, and
Yeah,
I don't have a method. I can lift a certain weight and say, yep, I think that's my max. But having somebody right there to make sure I've got the right form and go through, there was just, strategically, there were certain exercises that we went through to assess where I was going to be at. And I never would have gotten that on my own. And at any of the programs I looked at, same thing. They would start out with what you think your max is and work from there. And that really isn't going to cut it. You're not going to make as much progress as fast because you don't have the right information up front. You're going to fish around for it for a while. Yeah. So that
yeah,
was a huge deal for me.
yeah, 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 for sure. Do you feel like you're stronger now than you were before, or I don't know, in the last like 10, 20 years maybe? Yeah,
Yes. And actually what I'm doing right now, so I know I mentioned this to you before, but I just got news that I got kind of bumped into this. So part of what I was trying to do is my goal was to get into the shape where I knew I could, perform well on the mat in jiu-jitsu.
yeah,
And where I was at before, was just shy of 240 pounds. And that's not a good 240. It was basically chewed bubble gum, is basically what I was in a shirt. And, you know, this got me to that point where now I can go to the mat. And so I actually just had an exchange with my former professor. I actually found out he lives in California. He's going back to Brazil, so it's kind of sad, but I'm going to be going on back on the mat here within the next week. Be it by the end of this week, I'll be going back out. So that's
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest goals yet. I mean, don't get me wrong. Going from 239 to 209, that was a big deal. That was a really big deal.
Yeah.
But getting to the point where I'm comfortable getting on the mat, that's a confidence issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
that was the
And
biggest.
how easy was the process? Because we didn't add too much extra cardio. We just kind of implemented a little bit more walking into your day. You're doing still your jiu-jitsu workouts as you were before.
Yep.
So we didn't really make too much differences other than kind of adjust everything to kind of match whatever you need, right?
Yeah, for me, running, I just don't like running, which means I need to do it. But in the meantime, you know, getting the steps in, and I got a watch set up so I could actually measure the steps. And, you know, we talked about this before of making sure to wear the watch all day long or under, you know,
Yeah.
I got the watch so I could capture all the steps I was doing in a day because I had, you know, 3,000 extra steps I didn't even know I was doing. So, you know, incrementally, if I go out and walk the paths and the trails that I get in there, getting 13,000 steps is not a big deal at all. And those really make a difference
Yeah.
for a couple of reasons. One, it's low impact. I'm not running. I'm just going for a walk. I mean, I push, you know, I try and power walk up the hills and stuff like that, little challenge, but I'm not running, you know, 4, 5, 7 miles or anything like that. So it's very easy.
And it's no stress on your body. Actually, kind of when you're going for a walk on daily basis, it's kind of like meditation. If you have a stressful job like you have, probably you feel really good after these walks. Yeah.
I was going to say, actually, it's not that it's a challenge so much as it is that it is a stress reliever. So getting out, getting sun, or even if I go, you know, right now it's dark when I go, just getting out, the wind, and then of course by the time I'm done with my walk, it'll the sun will be up. So that in itself is very healing. So it's great.
Cool. My cats are in the background, like going crazy. And for the first time after we draw your blood work, we find out something that you haven't find out before. So how impactful was for you to kind of find out what's going on internally, where is your hormones and all that stuff?
Yeah, so there's a few things that came out of that. Blood sugar was definitely higher than I had anticipated, and some of that was the time of day I was taking it. Wasn't really monitoring that.
Yeah.
And was taking empty calories that I didn't even realize I was taking. To get a coffee with a creamer in the morning, there you go. It's going to drop your or push your blood sugar up, and then you take a test and figure out so high. But hormonally, you know, I got to do a retest, but you know, testosterone was low, and then also there was I forget the hormonal imbalance, but it's basically Hashimoto's, right? So I'm squarely in that zone, but it's not something where it's actively causing an issue at this point. It's high, and whatever I'm doing, it's kind of keeping everything at bay and in balance. But I'm sure there's some other effects. But in the meantime, the supplements that you recommended came into play very well. And I expect that once I get back out and do another retest, that we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it was pretty easy to kind of when we send you the video to kind of understand what we were talking in that regards about your blood work and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've forgotten about that. Yeah, and I forget the gentleman's name, but
Gillis.
Gillis, yeah, he walked through. I mean, he made everything street level. I mean, he obviously knew what he was talking about. You're not going to be able to take something complex and bring it down to street level unless you really know it well. And what I liked about when we had that conversation was, you know, he's not prescribing, he's not kind of diagnosing anything, but he's putting red flags or yellow flags here and there. Yeah, you need to go see a doctor or et cetera. I would advise blah, 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 whatever that would be. Very, very clear and easy to understand after that. So that in itself is comforting. You see the numbers, you know, oh my gosh, what's wrong? But
Yeah.
then you realize what,
Sure.
what you need to do, and it's not bad. He did a great job.
Yeah. 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 That was kind of my idea from the beginning when I was putting the team together and the program together, like to have to not guess anything, because if you're guessing, you're usually wrong. And when you have a clear picture, when you have all the data, then it's a lot easier to personalize everything, So yeah,
It does.
it's been pleasure working with you, James. Sorry if I interrupted you, if you wanted to say
Oh
something.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
no. I was going to say no. It's been my pleasure as well, and this is just a start. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
6 months,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
there's, I
Yeah.
don't want to lose any more time, so I want to keep
Yeah.
going with it. And
Yeah.
I expect to see bigger and better, especially now that I'm going from training, jiu-jitsu solo and just going through the warm-ups and
Yeah.
actually getting on the mat and rolling again with the guys. It's going to happen pretty fast at that point
It's
because
gonna
that
be
gets pretty
awesome.
aerobic.
So our next goal is 6-pack, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's get it.
I want that. The gut is
Yeah.
gone, but now it's
Yeah.
flat. So
Yeah.
I'm probably, I don't know what the body fat percentage is, but I definitely want to cut that in half.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna happen. Probably in the next 3 to 4 months, you're gonna see tremendous change. Yeah. So
Yeah, for sure.
awesome.